Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. So, this is Forge from Iron. I'm obviously Gatesy. Are the Manager series. Now, the basic premise of this, in case there's anybody watching that hasn't seen the previous ones and doesn't know what's going on here, allow me to explain. So, my guest in this series has been given £85 million transfer budget and has been plonked in it and is going to make the decisions on who's coming into the club. We're not worried about who's leaving. It's just about who's coming in. And with this £85 million, our guest has to blow it on bringing players in to the club that's going to strengthen us ahead of a domestic and European campaign. Now, they can, if they run out of money and they still want to beef up the squad, they can use freebies. That's not a problem at all. So, and for the purposes of this, for player valuations, we're going to use transfer market, rightly or wrongly. It's just a bit of fun. So, it's nothing terribly scientific. So, in the hot seat today is Mr. Dave Harris of Let's Talk Sports. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine. Friends, how are you, Rob?
Yeah, I'm doing good, mate. I'm doing good. It's been a lovely day weather-wise. The sun's been out and always puts a little bit of a spring in your step when the sun's out for some strange reason. So all
Yeah.
good. We've got some people in the live chat. Ben's here. He's saying have a good show, lads. So appreciate that, Ben. And Freshfielder's in here giving us the old thumbs up. So well, now Mr. Dave. So you have a list of players. I'm sure you've been scouring diligently. For players to come into the squad and hit the ground running. So, over to you, Mr. Moyes. The floor is yours. Who's the first player of your on your hit list that you're gonna spend this 85 million that Mr. Sullivan has kindly given you?
Now, the first name, and it's going to be the name a lot of fans want to know what's happening with, is Jesse Lingard. Now, obviously, for the purpose of this game, obviously, we can get whoever we want. So I picked Lingard, obviously. If I was manager, he would be my first choice. And if I couldn't get him, as we talked about on my channel, Ferreira would be my backup. But I feel the ideal situation is just bring Lingard in for continuity and just I feel he would be Moyes' top option in that position.
Yeah, I mean he's done tremendously well. We won't get into the discussion of should he be in the England squad. That's a discussion for another time and day. But just looking here, I've just shared the screen with the ladies and gentlemen watching this at home. So there he is, Mr. Jesse Lingard, who's obviously been with us this season on loan. 16 appearances, 9 goals, 5 assists. Transfer market having rated, rightly or wrongly, as £19.8 million. And just looking down the data here, as far as his main position is concerned, he's an attacking midfielder predominantly, but he can be deployed on either wing. And his parent club is currently Manchester United. And as of the 30th of June, he will have 1 year left on his contract to run. So, Mr. Moyes, 19.8 million of your 85 million pound budget you're putting on Jesse Lingard. Gone?
Yeah.
Fair enough. So that then takes your budget down from 85 million pounds to 65.2 million pounds. So who's next on the David Moyes shopping list?
The next position, and one what is hotly debated, is a striker to not just compete with Antonio, but also when he's injured, be your main goal threat. And the one I've opted for as the main striker to come in is Dakka. I understand the arguments for Abraham and a few others, but One, I do think Abraham will be priced out, but I just feel possibly the ceiling's a bit higher with Dakka, and also I feel he possibly fits the system better than what Abraham and a few other options do.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this guy. There's a lot of potential there. I think 22 years of age. He's currently at Red Bull Salzburg. Transfer market have got him rated as 19.8 million pounds. Just looking at his stats for this season, I mean, this is ridiculous. 28 appearances, 27 goals, 7 assists. And I know what people are going to say, you know, how good is the Austrian league, but let's not muck about. Whatever league you're in, if you can be kicking in 27 goals, 7 assists in 28 appearances, you're doing something right, I would suggest. His main
Yeah,
position is centre forward, and he can play on either flank.
yeah. Also, with the Austrian league argument, it was good enough for Holland, and he's doing it in the Bundesliga. So uh, it's a stepping stone
Exactly.
for him. I'm not saying it will come off. There's risk with any signing, even if you sign from the Championship. So what I tend to do is look what they do in the game, not at their stats. And I just feel with what he does, it's similar to what Antonio does.
Yeah, a younger but more robust version of the striker that we've got. So yes, I agree. I think he would be an excellent signing if he was to come in. I mean, I saw something before we went live. There's a story doing around that apparently Leipzig, just the other one, Salzburg have said that if you want him, it's going to be about £21.5 million. So
Yeah,
whether we're going to splash the cash on him or not remains to be seen. But in my opinion, if you want to get a striker in that's going to get your goals, and he's 22 years of age, so he's still got his best years ahead of him, you know, you pay the money.
yeah,
20,
I agree.
21.5 million pounds isn't that much.
It's not for striker. And put like this: if we had him last year when Antonio was out, we would be playing Champions League football. So 25 million to get you in the Champions League. What is that? Honestly, I do think I've always said I think Moyes will be careful with his money. I think 25 will be his reaching point for a striker. If he can't get his targets, he'll look elsewhere. But what does 25 million get for you, honestly, even in a sort of COVID effective market?
Not an awful lot, I would suggest.
No, no.
But so Patson Dakka now, if you're bringing him through for 19.8 million, your budget is now down to 45.4 million, Mr. Manager. So,
Yeah.
who's next on your shopping list?
Next is a name that certainly has been linked in the reports a lot recently to beef up the midfield. Bringing in Alex Kroos of Moscow. This pretty much ticks a few boxes, as we talked about when you was on my show. He has versatility, not just playing defensive midfield. He can fill in as the third centre back, but also he not only covers for injuries and helps you manage Rice's and Suchek's minutes and manage the squad during the Europa League. He could be the eventual successor to Rice. What good sides do is not go out and look for a player what you'll pay a hefty price for to replace. You have them in the squad ready, and then you replace his place on the bench with someone to come in and compete.
Yeah. I mean, just going down his stats here. So again, for those people at home that don't know too much about this fella, he's obviously a Czech international playing in Russia, 23 years of age. His default position, as you say, is a defensive midfielder. He's rated as a £9 million player according to Transfer Market. His contract has until 2024 to run, June the 30th to be precise. His stats in the Russian league last season, 29 appearances. He didn't register a goal, but to be fair, as a defensive midfielder, that's not his responsibility, to be fair. He did manage to get 5 assists. He was in the starting 11 for 93% of the time and got 89% of the minutes. So obviously his club side rate him well enough that he's in the starting 11 virtually every match. And you look at it there, as I say, his default position is defensive mid. However, he can be deployed a little bit further forward in central mid, and he also can drop into the centre back position. So again, this is a player that has an awful lot of versatility about him. And one thing I think about David Moyes that he likes is, I think he likes players with a couple of strings to their bow. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Also, with the goal thing, I would wager he might get more goals in this side just because he's likely playing with a better all-round team. So, with some of the creative players, that might right itself a little bit. And personally speaking, I think David Moyes would be of the opinion, given he would be prominently playing as a defensive midfielder, what he does in other areas probably outweighs that. And Moyes does love a player to play in 3 or 4 different positions. And let's be honest, managing West Ham, he has to be.
Yeah, absolutely, completely agree. And I think, if you've got a player that can play that many positions, he's going to get plenty of games. I think it's fair to say, because we know that Declan and Thomas need to be rested at times. They played virtually every minute that they could last season, and Declan the season before as well. Obviously, Thomas came in halfway through the previous season, but they need to be given times where they have a break, so he could come in and give them a break. But also, obviously, as I say, he can play centre back, he can play central mid, so he's quite a versatile player. He could shift around and give different people a rest. Again, it's all strength in depth, because it's, if we do well next season in Europe, we're going to be playing a lot of football.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why, with the budget we've managed, there's a lot of players coming in, but this squad isn't going to be big enough for as it is, so you've got to reinforce some of these positions, which, let's be honest, there's championship clubs out there with more depth than what West Ham have got, and that just shows how some of this squad has been mismanaged, and they need to right that this season if they're going to cope with the demands of the Europa League.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so if he's coming through the door for £9 million, Mr. Manager, then that means your budget is now down to a measly, a meager £36.4 million.
Yeah.
So, are we continuing to go on this spending spree, Mr. Manager?
Yes, we are, and the next signing is a need, but we've already addressed that need a little bit. But I've gone down the route of adding another forward, just because if we all know Antonio will get injured, and yes, we have got Dakka, but if bear in mind you'll be in your Amber League, you can't afford to have your playing suffer a little bit. So I brought in Adam Armstrong from Blackburn for a couple of reasons. One, I think he is a player on the rise. I think he's a little different to Antonio and Dakka, but still sort of system fit, but in a different way. But he used to be a winger. So, yes, you have corrected the striker, but he can also cover out wide a little bit, add something a little bit different, and it just helps you with the demands of the Europa League. And I just feel like I'm a big believer in if you've got a position of need, you almost go overboard to address that need because it's better to have too much than too little.
Yeah, no, you make some good points there, Dave. To be fair, and just looking at this fella, he's 24 years of age, young lad from up north in West Denton, 14.4 million pounds worth of player as per Transfer Market's valuation. As of the 30th of June this year, he only has 1 year left on his contract at Blackburn. So it's at a point with Blackburn where they either need to sell him or they're going to lose him for nothing 12 months down the
Yeah,
track. So just looking at his stats in the Championship, 40 appearances, 28 goals, 5 assists. Again, that is absolutely incredible stats, to be fair. He was in the starting 11 for 87% of the time. He played 84% of the minutes. As you say, his main position is centre forward, but again, he has that versatility where he can be deployed on either flank. And just looking at his history there, he went to Blackburn from Newcastle. Obviously, I'm
yeah,
guessing that was his local club from when he was growing up in the northeast. So, but yeah, so again, another player with a little bit of versatility about him, which I'm sure is something that David Moyes will look favourably upon. Get my teeth back in and get my words out.
yeah.
But
Um,
so 14.4 million. So you've got 36.4 in your pocket. Hang on, 36.4 subtract 14.4 means you are left in your back pocket with exactly 22 million pounds, Mr. Manager.
yeah.
So the question is that the end of your spending spree, or are you still looking to beef up the squad a little bit further?
Yeah, I definitely am. One position what has been a strength for West Ham is centre back, but the problem is all the centre back that Moyes trusts are of a certain age. Because I don't believe that he trusts Diop at all. To be honest with you,
Don't think he's the only one.
and no, I'm going to be honest. I will admit he had a fantastic first season, but I understand some fans' argument that he's young. But to be honest with you, you can't use that excuse anymore. He's had 3 seasons now, and he's had more bad seasons than good. So, personally speaking, one thing you don't want from a centre back is one that loses concentration. I understand
Yeah.
argument of he's got so much talent. What's the point of having talent if you show it 25% of the time? And I think that's being generous. So I don't think he trusts him. I do feel like I know a lot of fans feel like the likes of Anderson and Lanzini will go out to help get this funds up to 85, but I do feel Diop's the most sellable asset, and more importantly, one of the ones Moyes wants rid of the most. So,
So who are you looking at bringing in then, Mr. Manager?
Two cent. I'm going double dip, but the first centre back, someone what's it currently playing in the Championship for Notts Forest, Joe Rubble. Looking into him deeply, he's actually Moyes' sort of centre back, very sort of tough, sort of old fashioned, and he is a player, although he's not in the most successful side, who is on the up. And given what you're giving up for him, I think Moyes will look at it as you take a flyer on him. You've got Dawson and O'Connor, and he's a good option to have as your third or fourth option. And if he comes off, all well and good.
Yeah, I mean, he's 24 years of age. Again, he's a young English centre-back, born in Nottingham, playing for his hometown club, of course. He has a contract until the 30th of June 2024. Transfer Market have rated him at £3.6 million. And just looking at his stats here in the Championship, 31 appearances. He has 1 goal, 1 assist. He was in the starting 11 for 67% of the time and played 67% of the minutes. And again, his main position and his only position, according to Transfer Market, is centre back. And he's had time on loan at Rangers, according to this, in Scotland. And also had a spell, according to this, at Dagenham and Redbridge. So
Yeah, I
he's
mean,
already
he's a
acquainted
player.
with our part of London.
Yeah, he is, and he's a player I've watched a little bit, and I look at him as he's got a lot of similarities to Dawson. So we don't necessarily need him to start straight away, but what we do need is for him to compete, and if nothing else, it gives you an option of playing in the Europa League or whatever way Moyes decides to go. He might choose to go with one of Ogbonna and Dawson in the Europa League on alternative sort of weeks, and one of the younger centre backs with him.
Yeah, no, good idea. So, Mr. Manager, you've brought in Joe Worrell from Championship Nottingham Forest for 3.6 million. It's taken your budget down to 18.4 million. Are we still shopping, sir?
Yeah, we are. I'm bringing in another centre back, and he's a player what I actually think's a little underrated in Nat Phillips from Liverpool. I don't know what it is about him. I think he's done well, but I don't think Klopp fancies him at all. Even when we've seen him have a couple good games against us, and for whatever reason, anytime Klopp has an excuse to get rid of him, he does, even if it meant playing Henderson at the back. But I like him, and what's more important, I think Moyes would like him. Again, he does remind me a little bit of Ogbonna. He's not going to be playing the ball out the back for you, but what he will do is demand sort of be very physical and just be no nonsense.
Yeah. So again, another young English lad, 24 years of age, centre back. His contract at Liverpool, as of the 30th of June, has 2 years left to run. Transfer Market have got him rated at 4.5 million. And just scrolling down here, 17 appearances, 1 goal, 1 assist. Correct me if I'm wrong. His debut came against us, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. I've watched him a little bit since then. I mean, when he was thrown inside, it made me laugh. Everyone thought he might be the weak link, but he had a very good game. But just for
Yeah, he
whatever
did.
reason, he did both times for that matter. But Klopp just gets rid of him straight away. So I can only think he feels he's not the modern day centre back, but it's for that reason why I think Moyes would want him. And also with these two signings, you don't necessarily need them both to pay off. You just need one of them to pay off, really. So you sort of double dip and hope one of them sort of emerges as one of your future starting centre backs.
Yeah. I didn't realise, just looking here, he's had a couple of spells on loan in the Bundesliga to Stuttgart.
Yeah.
So he's got a little bit of he's sort of like he's gone and sort of like spread his wings, opened his horizons, if you will. So no, I like that. And correct me if I'm wrong, Liverpool signed a centre back early in the week, or they've agreed a deal at least with Konate of Leipzig.
The Leipzig one, yeah.
So I think that possibly you would argue that are his chances at Liverpool as a result of that signing rather limited, whereas sort of like if he comes through the door here, he's gone again, because of the competitions we're going to be involved in next season. He's got plenty of scope to get minutes under his belt, and at the age of 24, you know,
Yeah.
He's still got a lot. Good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I agree.
with that purchase of Nathaniel for £4.5 million, takes your budget down to £13.9 million. Is that where we finished there, Mr. Manager, or are you still going to be dipping into poor Mr. Sullivan's bank account?
I am, but the next two won't necessarily cost him money straight away, because one's a loan and one's a free transfer, and the first one being a loan of Junior Filippo.
I'll tell you what we do. I'll tell you what we do. If we do, because there's one more permanent signing, isn't there, Dave? If I
Sorry. I was forgetting myself there.
That's all right.
Well, I think we can all understand Fabianski's going to keep getting injured. It's not his fault. It's just Father Time. We spoke about this on my podcast.
Yeah.
So I think the opportunity of Sam Johnson might be too big of opportunity to pass up, even if he doesn't necessarily start straight away. But this is where you can keep him happy, because the Europa, you could play him and Fabianski in the league, or vice versa, and keep both happy. And to be honest with you, I'll be a lot more happy in these games when Fabianski pulls up with half an hour to go with an injury, if Johnson was stepping in than Randolph. I don't mean that with any disrespect, because in my opinion he's one of the better backups in the league, but let's be honest, at Premiership level he is a backup, and as you saw earlier on in the season, his age ain't that much off what Fabianski was, and he come in to play and he ended up half injured as well, which I'm not sure if it's just because he didn't get the chance to warm up properly. So Johnson is a player what I think is ascending. If you sign him, you've got your goalkeeper situation sorted for 5 to 7 years, and I'm happy with that. I think it's a snip at the price, and why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah. So again, he's 28 years of age. He's obviously West Brom's player at the moment. He has, as of the 30th of June, he will have 1 year left on his contract. So again, same as Adam Armstrong's situation. The club either need to sell him and obviously get a few bob through into the coffers, or they're resigned to pretty much losing him on a free 12-month down the track, which, you know, I don't think there's too many championship clubs, especially in the COVID times, that can really afford to do that with players. So I think they're going to have to sell him. £7.2 million according to Transfer Market. His stats last season, 37 goals. It doesn't look great, I admit. 74 goals conceded and only 6 clean sheets. But to be fair, he was playing behind a very, very porous defence for the season. But 37 out of 38 appearances, so he must have been doing something right. Obviously, his main and only position is a goalkeeper. I don't know too many goals. But this is a guy, just looking at his previous clubs, he was a goalkeeper at Manchester United, and although I don't think he played a first team game for Manchester United, just to be on the books there, you got to be sort of like half decent. And just looking there, I don't know if you're aware of this, that any transfer fee that West Brom get, 15% of it go to Manchester United.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. From what I understand, or certainly the reports are, because of that, they're trying for near training, but Moyes' tactic, if you believe the reports, is wait them out, and they'll have to come down, which I do agree with that everybody knows they need to sell. So whenever these players end up going, the general fee is between 10 to sort of 14 million, because you've got to sell to get them off a wage bill with nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the goalkeeper position sorted. So now that takes your budget to 6.7 million. Now, I know you've got 2 players on your list. So talk me through what you're going to do with your 6.7 million left.
Well, I'm going bring in on loan in the left back / wing back position Junior Filippo. I would be more comfortable with a loan as well, because he's a player with a lot of potential, but I think it's fair to say inconsistent. I look at him, if this comes off, he's basically your upgrade in what Masaraku does. He also has some experience with playing with Fornell, so that would fit down that left-hand side. And Barcelona need to get him off a wage bill. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if they do sort of a buy option or an obligation to buy. I think they might try an option and say we'll give you a 5 million loan fee, and if we take up the option, take that off, say, well, it's saying it's worth 9, but the figure's being suggested is 15. I think you do this just for the upside. I understand the inconsistency, but why wouldn't you take this risk? I don't know if his wage will be an issue for them, because I believe he's on 100 grand a week, but we shall see.
I've heard that. Yeah, but I mean, 6.7 million. I mean, how much did we pay? I know it was only for half a season, but Jesse Lingard was 1.5 million for the loan. So
yeah,
I think if you're going to get a player in on loan, 6.7 million should cover a loan period for a season, I would have thought, from what you've got left. So yeah, Junior Firpo. He's from the Dominican Republic, but he is a Spanish citizen. Left back, as you say, he's got a contract with Barcelona until the 30th of June 2024. As you say, £9 million is the rating on Transfer Market. And just looking down here, he only made 7 appearances in La Liga, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 yellow cards. His main position is left back. He can also, again, a little bit of versatility. He can also be deployed as a right back. And in his transfer history there, he's obviously a Barcelona player presently, but he's been at Betis previously to that. So 6.7 million, and you're going to spend at least a portion of that on getting Junior Firpo through the door on a season-long loan. So, Mr. Manager, is that you done, or is there a little bit more strengthening you're going to get for the club?
A little more strength, and it's more depth than anything. On a free transfer, I'm going to bring in Lundstrom from Sheffield United. This is more just to help cope with the extra games, but if one of the defensive midfielders get injured, then he just helps you not being as reliant on Mark Noble. Just add depth, and it might also help us not have to have 3 goalkeepers in the match squad, which does help with the embarrassment factor. He has some experience with Moyes. He was in the Everton Academy when Moyes was at Everton. I don't believe he's ever actually played for him, but I understand we need more sort of pace in the side, but given it is a free transfer, I think you do it not because he won't really be starting, but just add something to side, because I know everyone wants to see Connor Coventry in the side, but let's be honest, much like with Cullen when he was here, Moyes just doesn't trust him because he had many opportunities at this back end of the season, and he just didn't give. He didn't even bring him on, so he just doesn't either rate him or trust him. So I think Lundstrom just helps you with that.
Yeah, and he's only 27, so to be fair, he's in and around his peak years. He's got Premier League experience. I mean, we all complained about Craig Dawson when he walked through the door on loan, and obviously for the first half of the season he was sitting on his backside and everybody was wondering what the point of him being around was, and then he got his opportunity, and the first 10 games or so everybody was saying he should have been playing for England. But you're just looking here. So, yeah, his contract runs out with Sheffield United on the 30th of June this year. So, although it says 6.3 million, he will be a free transfer. Just looking at his league stats, 28 appearances, no goals, 2 assists. He was in the starting 11 for 61% of the time, playing 59% of the minutes, 8 yellow cards and 1 red. His main position is central midfield. He can also be deployed as a defensive midfielder. And as you said, he's got a little bit of a connection with David Moyes because he actually started his career at Everton. And he's had spells on loan here, there, and everywhere. Leyton Orient, again, fairly local to West Ham, so he'll know the terrain roughly around. But yeah, he'll be a free transfer coming in. As you say, it's not necessarily a sort of like a signing that's going to really get the sort of like the blood pumping and all the rest of it, but it's a signing that just adds a little bit of depth to the squad, and again, just maybe gives an option to give Declan and Thomas a little bit of a rest as and when it becomes necessary.
Yeah, I agree.
Good. So, that is your budget all spent then, Mr. Manager, I do believe?
Yeah, yes it is.
Good. I think it's a pretty decent outlay, to be fair. So just to go through it, ladies and gentlemen, in case you missed it. So we've got Sam Johnston from West Brom. We've got Jesse Lingard from Manchester United. We've got Alex Král from Spartak Moscow. We've got Patson Dakka from RB Salzburg. We've got Adam Armstrong from Blackburn. Joe Worrell from Nottingham Forest. Nat Phillips from Liverpool. We've got Junior Firpo on loan with an obligation or an option to buy. A free transfer for John Lundstrom, and that is the 85 million pound, excuse me. Budget gone in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
So that is our business concluded, Dave.
Yeah.
So thank you very much indeed for your attendance. And for those of you watching, in the description below the video on both YouTube and on Facebook, you've obviously got the usual blurb that I put, and obviously I've got the link to the YouTube channel Force from Iron. However, you will also note that there is another channel that I've put there. Let's Talk Sports. So if you guys that are watching either live or at your own leisure get to this point, could you have a little look there and drop a subscribe on Dave's channel? We would both really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for that, Robin.
No problem. Further to that, any of you guys watching, if you could do the usual, like the video, subscribe to this YouTube channel and Dave on both channels, and as and when we upload any new content to our respective channels, you'll be notified straight away. The final thing I'm going to sign out with, ladies and gentlemen, it's my usual thing, and I don't really care if I bore anyone. It's my channel, I do what I want. Okay, this young girl, Isla Caton, she is fighting for her life, guys, and I'm not mucking around here. Those of you that know the story, and if you don't, let me explain it. She's a young girl fighting against a really rare form of cancer called neuroblastoma. There ain't no treatment for this in this country, so if you think she can just turn up at her local NHS hospital and say, give me the treatment, as wonderful as the NHS is, they can't help her with this really. So in the middle of this pandemic, guys, her family have got to get the money together to pay for treatment wherever it is in the world. So they've got to pay for flights, accommodation, living costs. The bills in the UK are still coming in, as well as the treatment. Guys, hell on earth. I speak as a father, heartbreaking situation, and she needs our help. The clock is ticking. Again, in the link below the stream on YouTube and on Facebook is what I have got on that banner. You can copy it and you can paste it and you can put it on your social media platform with a little note as to what it's all about. So when people look at it, they know, okay, fine, this is the story. You've got a PayPal and you've got a Just Giving page. If you can donate anything into the pot, please do. Anything from £1 upwards, thank you very much. But as I say, if nothing else, please put it on your social media platforms, because if you can't, because times are tough, put any money in the pot, it may well be that some of your friends might be able to. So we need to try and keep the momentum going behind this campaign. So it's really important. So if you can't put any money in, thanks very much for listening, but put this on your social media platforms with a little note as to what it's all about. And guys, once again, I thank you very much indeed for your attention. So, Dave, thank you for playing the part of David Moyes, and I think you've done a pretty tidy job on beefing up the squad for the Premier League and Cup competitions next season, and obviously Europe.
Yeah, we can only hope it goes somewhere in a similar way. You hear all these rumours going about at the moment, and where they do seem fairly solid, as West Ham fans, it seems too sensible to be true. So you never know whether to believe it, because it just seems too logical for our board to do. So you just never know.
Yeah, no. Watch this space. Steve, in answer to your question, I'm gonna end the broadcast here. We'll discuss that another time, as I just want to do this stream just to keep it on topic. So we'll obviously, you and I have had messages going back and forth, but I'm not being rude or anything, but as I say, I want to just keep it on this particular topic for now. But yeah, we will cover it again, I'm sure. But hopefully that, you know, the news that's been, you know, doing the rounds about, you know, Everton are probably, you know, are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? Hopefully it comes to nothing. And I said it to Steve earlier, personally, I'll just get this out of the way real quick. I personally think that David Moyes is quite an honourable man. I think if he's shook hands on, you know, he might not have signed the contract, but if he shook hands on it, I think he will sign the contract. I think it's a gentleman's agreement, and I think he will be West Ham's manager next season, no problem at all. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I agree. Also, he'd be starting to rebuild Everton again, so he'd set himself back 2 years, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure he necessarily would, but only time will tell.
Yeah, nothing surprises me in football anymore, Dave. But on that note, we shall leave it there, guys. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Stay safe. Only one thing left to say, isn't there, Dave?
Yeah, come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons. Stay safe, guys.